That's it, bro. That's so absolutely bullshit, man. And bro, I get tweets to these days. You killed Owen Hart. To this day, I get tweets about how I killed Owen Hart. How that happened, bro, is that show was written. It was done. I was in my office. It was probably Thursday night before the pay-per-view, and I'm just dotting the I's and crossing the T's, making sure we got everything. My phone rings, and it was our director of operations. The guy's name was Steve Taylor. Steve Taylor had been at the WWE forever. I think he works at MSG now, but he was there from the beginning with Vince. And Steve Taylor called me, and he goes to me, he goes, Vince, he goes, the guys who repel Sting are coming to the pay-per-view in Kansas City, and they want to know if there's anything they could do on the show to show us what they can do because they want to work with us. So is there anything on the show that they could do? So at that point, I literally got the show in front of me. And I said, let me look. So I'm looking through the show. I see Owen is the Blue Blazer. So I said, well, Steve, this might be something. I said, Owen's the Blue Blazer. I said, if we repel Owen like they repel Sting, I said, it'll be good for Owen. I said, it'll give Owen a big star, type of feel. I said,
and he was going to win the belt in that match.
Yeah, I said that'll probably work. So Steve said, great, no problem, So, bro, at that point, I don't know who related to Owen. I mean, I don't know how that happened, But this I do know. That day, at the coffee urn, I seen Owen in his jumpsuit, okay? He had already rehearsed it. So Owen was there getting coffee, and I went to Owen. I said, Owen, how'd everything go in rehearsal? How was everything? Owen said to me, Vince, everything was cool, no problem. He said, but I want to ask, can you make one change for me? I said, what is it, Owen? And he goes, the way you have it written right now, the Godfather goes out first, then I repel down. He said, Vince, it's going to take me a while to get my harness off. He goes, if I'm there trying to get my harness off, why isn't the Godfather pummeling me? He goes, can you just flip the entrances for me? And I said, oh, and that makes all the sense in the world. I said, no problem, we'll flip the entrances, okay? Bro, never at any time did he say, Vince, I'm uncomfortable with this. Vince, I'm afraid of heights. Vince, I didn't feel comfortable doing it. Nothing. Zero. That was not important to the script. That show was written without that repel. That repel was added by request. That was the only reason. If I would have thought for a second, or Owen would have indicated for a second, a fear of heights, a fear of doing it, I feel uncomfortable, whatever, it would have never happened. And then there are those, Jim Cornette, people like this like to say this. Well, you know how wrestlers are. If they don't like doing something, they won't tell you because they're afraid, it'll hurt their spot. Well, there's a little history there with Owen and myself as well. And that history was when Owen was with Jeff Jarrett and Deborah, okay? I wanted to write a story of Owen kind of falling in love with Deborah. And the reason I wanted to write it was because Owen was so freaking entertaining. I wanted to see what Owen would be like in love with this beautiful girl that was probably so out of his league. So we were bantering that around. Well, I don't know if I pitched it to Owen. I don't remember. But anyway, at some point Owen came back to me. And he goes, Vince, I got to tell you. He goes, I really feel uncomfortable with this. I can't remember. Martha. He goes, with Martha, I just feel uncomfortable doing this, blah, blah, blah. I don't know how my wife will take it. Right then and there, I said, Owen, no problem. It's not important. We'll do something else. So there was a history of Owen telling me, I'm not comfortable with that, and me changing it, and it was no big deal, that I, without a doubt, feel if there was an issue with that, he would have came to me and said there was an issue because he did it before. It was no big deal. It wasn't important to the script. It had no bearing on the match whatsoever. If we would have never done it, nobody would have even noticed. So yeah, man, that's why like it. You know, for people to still say that stuff to me about Owen to this day, it's like you know what, bro? That's the absolute scum of the earth. Because nobody loved that guy more than I did. No, I love that guy with all my heart and soul, and nobody was more torn apart or distraught than I was. So for people to turn around and say that and have no idea how that went down, you know, that they're just the scum of the earth.